Now, few hearings on Capitol Hill have generated as much fire and fury from the left as the one that took place earlier today. The hearing called by Congressman Peter King on the radicalization of Muslims in America. And here is how Congressman King addressed the controversy as the hearing began.
I am well aware that the announcement of these hearings has generated considerable controversy and opposition. Let me make it clear today that I remain convinced that these hearings must go forward, and they will. To back down would be a craven surrender to political correctness and an abdication of what I believe to be the main responsibility of this committee, to protect America from a terrorist attack.
And as you can imagine, the hearings have generated major blowback from Democrats. Those in attendance made their anger apparent and voiced some outrageous claims while doing so.
This committee's approach to this particular subject, I believe, is contrary to the best of American values and threatens our security. This is the very heart of stereotyping and scapegoating.
Muslim Americans are honorable citizens, loyal Americans, and they're as much distressed as we are about what it is we see going on.
I cannot help but wonder how propaganda about this hearing focuses on the American Muslim community will be used by those who seek to inspire a new generation of suicide bombers.
And joining me now with reaction is the man behind today's hearing, New York Congressman Pete King. Congressman, good to see you.
Sean, always great to be with you.
All right, you talked in the lead up to this about the mindless hysteria leading into the hearings. You just heard some of the criticism. You've been listening to it all day. And I wanted to give you a chance to respond. From everything that I've been reading, you're not going after the Muslim community. We lost 3,000 Americans on 9/11. What are these hearings about?
Sean, this is about the radicalization of the Muslim American community by al-Qaeda. This is exactly what the President's National Security Advisor said last week. The fact is the overwhelming majority of Muslim Americans are outstanding Americans, but al-Qaeda is attempting to recruit within that community. And as we brought out at the hearing today, where it was Muslims who were testifying, they showed how their children were being radicalized, in one case sent to Somalia and murdered. And when they went to their leaders in the Muslim community for assistance, they were denied it. They were attacked themselves. They were threatened. They were told they'd be sent to Guantanamo if they went to the police. They were warned not to cooperate with the FBI. They were told they would burn in hell if they cooperated, and they were shunned. They were isolated within their own community because they wanted to find out what happened to their sons who were murdered. And they were recruited in the mosques. They were sent over there by imams, and yet their own community, the leaders in their own community, failed to protect them. So I want to protect the entire country from an al-Qaeda type attack led by radicalized Muslim Americans, and also protect the Muslims themselves living in this community who are being preyed upon by al-Qaeda.
By the way, and the American people support you by a 52-38 margin. In USA Today, there was a poll that support these hearings. Do we know, Congressman, are there people, radicalized, al-Qaeda sympathizing, terrorists in this country right now? Do we know for a fact that they're here?
Well, we know that they have been radicalized. Just in the last year, we had the attempted subway bombing in New York. We had Shahzad, the Times Square bomber. We had Major Hassan. And we know that al-Qaeda, yes, is actively recruiting here in this country. And that is what I was addressing today, how that is going to be coped with by the Muslim community, whether or not they're fully cooperating with police and law enforcement, and whether or not instead organizations like CARE, the Committee on American Islamic Relations, which is an unindicted co-conspirator in a major terrorist case, whether or not they're the ones who are out front. So, no, there's no doubt. And even the White House will admit this. I mean, this is what Dennis McDonough said last week. This threat is real, this is serious, and it is al-Qaeda attempting to recruit Muslim Americans and being successful over the last several years.
Well, we know that even Attorney General Holder himself admitted to lying awake at night, worrying about the radicalization of young Muslim men in America.
Right.
We know the vast majority of terrorist attacks aimed at Americans are from people and groups associated with militant Islam. That's irrefutable. Let me go to the emotional testimony of your colleague, Keith Ellison, and let's play this, and I have a couple of questions on the other side.
Mr. Hamdani bravely sacrificed his life to try to help others on 9/11. After the tragedy, some people tried to smear his character solely because of his Islamic faith. Some people spread false rumors and speculated that he was in league with the attackers because he was a Muslim. But it was only when his remains were identified that these lies were exposed.
Now, Congressman, I have a very important question because he talked about smearing this man's character because of his Islamic faith and spreading false rumors and et cetera, et cetera. I have a piece that's just been put up on National Review Online, and in fact, when Congress signed the Patriot Act into law, they included this line: many Arab Americans and Muslim Americans acted heroically during the attacks on the United States, including the gentleman that Mr. Ellison is talking about. And they actually mentioned him by name, and when they did a Google search of smears and lies and attacks and all of this, they couldn't find these examples that he was talking about, but I think for one. And it was even, it was just a question raised more than anything else. Are you aware that, do you suspect that what he was saying today was not accurate?
You know, I don't know, Congressman Ellison. I was quite frank. You know, I invited him to testify to give him the opportunity. No one was questioning him. No one was giving him a hard time. You know, I'm not going to question his motives or whether it's real or not. I'm not aware of the case he was talking about. But, Sean, you know, you and I were in New York after September 11th. I didn't hear anyone say anything negative about Muslims, certainly about any Muslim in the police department, anyone who lost his life that day. And the Muslims do perform heroically in police departments. They performed heroically in the military. So, and even that testimony today, what did that have to do with the hearing today?
Right. Let me ask you one last question.
Again. Yeah.
What did you think of the NPR in this meeting where they were willing to accept money from the Muslim Brotherhood and even, you know, a group on their website to talk, they wanted to make America Sharia compliant? NPR wanted that money.
Well, I'm not surprised, Sean. NPR, we should cut off funding to them. NPR is a left-wing tool, just like the New York Times is a left-wing rag. I mean, the fact is, at least the New York Times is not getting federal subsidies. There should be no money given to NPR. Last year with Juan Williams, that was a metaphor for how biased and really out of touch with the American people NPR is. That not one taxpayer dollar should go to NPR.
All right, Congressman, we support your investigation. It's not against the Muslim community. It's to seek if there are extremists that want to destroy our way of life. We appreciate your time, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Sean.
And let not your heart be troubled. Our great, great, great American panel is next. And tonight on our great, great American panel, he's the president, executive director of the New York Civil Rights Coalition. The one and only Mike Myers is back. She's former communications director for the Republican Congressional Committee. Karen Hannity is here, no relation to Hannity. And she's one of the stars of The Real Housewives of New York City, author of Secrets of a Jewish Mother. Jill Zarin is back with us. Guys, good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you're telling me you disagree with Peter King. We lost 3,000 people on 9/11, Michael. There are radicals in this country. Don't we need to find out who they are?
Peter King accuses his critics of engaging in smearing and rage and hysteria. Hey, that's exactly what he's doing. So Peter King is engaged in Orwellian double talk.
You deny that there's Islamic radical threat to this country?
Don't try and do what Peter King does. Don't change the subject. The subject
here
is that, do you really feel safer after Peter King's accusations, generalizations,
He made no generalizations.
Yes,
He's looking into radical Islam, Karen, in America.
I don't understand why are liberals so afraid of finding out why we have an increasing
Liberals are not afraid.
An increasing problem with homegrown terrorism in the United States, people being radicalized in radical mosques. They're not all radical, but we need to know which mosques are radical. And why are people in America, why was a U.S. soldier so radicalized that he killed other U.S. soldiers?
And it gets worse than that. I mean, we don't even admit it's we can't say it's a terrorist attack.
Liberals are not afraid.
Liberals
are not afraid. What liberals are disgusted with is the fear-mongering. What liberals are disgusted with is that if congressmen who are publicity
seekers, what conservatives
who have no facts,
you know what we're disgusted about?
Accusations.
We're disgusted that the 9/11 Commission report said they, radical Islamists, are at war with us, and we didn't even fight that war for 15 years, and 3,000 Americans died, Michael.
And you think,
what part of this don't you understand?
Michael, don't you think it reduces the risk, though? Isn't there a little risk aversion here that we're... reducing the risk by having these kinds of hearings. Nobody's going to jail. We just need to do fact-finding.
You're not reducing anything. What you're doing is you're stoking fear.
But you don't want to know.
Let me finish.
I'm already scared.
How come conservatives always interrupt liberals so we can't give you our argument back?
But do you want to know why people are being radicalized?
No.
And do you even believe they're being radicalized?
Wait a minute.
Do you?
You can
Answer
look at the same question of radicalization.
He doesn't want to.
I'm going to answer your question if you please.
It's just a
let
yes
me
or no.
answer.
It's a yes or no.
You can look at the same question of the radicalization of blacks in terms of the Black Panther and Black nationalist movement, Black separatist movement, and African Black movement. Just a second. You can take any group and talk about the radicalization of, but you don't make people in a group. And you apply their extremism, their violence to the entire community. And that's what Peter King does. He talks about that community.
Most terrorist attacks today around the world are connected to radical Islamists that want a caliphate.
That is not true.
That is absolutely true.
That is not true.
Karen.
Okay, you want to go through them?
That is not true.
I mean, are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
No, then you're delusional. You are simply delusional. And I don't even know how you can continue the discussion if you are coming from the standpoint that radical Islamists are not blowing people up, that they are not responsible for attacks.
I did not say that radical Islamists are not blowing people up. I'm not denying reality. I'm not denying fact. What I'm saying is you cannot blame the Muslim, quote-unquote, community.
We're not blaming the Muslim community. We're looking for radicals that represent a threat to America.
He's scapegoating. He's stereotyping.
Putting your head in the sand. Let me tell you, that's the exact thing we did that led up to 9/11 because we ignored the embassy bombings in Kenya and in Tanzania and the USS Cole and the first Trade Center attack, and it led to 9/11.
Not Muslim?
9/11 happened and 3,000 people died.
Do you know how many have been Christians? Do you want to investigate the radicalization
Where are the Christians blowing people up in the name of God, in the name of 72 virgins?
What about Oklahoma?
That was one example.
Oh, that was one
Is there any other group? Is that a well-orchestrated group
of the Christian militia?
It was wrong. Are they blowing people up around
I don't blame Christians for the Christian militia. I don't blame Christians for the Ku Klux Klan.
It's just delusional. You can't have
more with our Great American panel. Straight ahead. We continue with our Great American panel and Michael Myers. I'm teasing. I'm not going anywhere. You're beating me up in the break.
And I'm not delusional. I'm the only sane one on the panel.
All right. Let's go to Michael. Michael Moore says everything that's happening in Wisconsin, that this is war. What's this?
This is war. This is a class war that's been leveled against the working people of this country. And at some point, people are going to just have to stand up and say, nonviolently, this is enough. We're not taking it anymore. I brought these with me. I'd like anybody who works on Wall Street, anybody who works for one of the banks, just take a look at this, okay? Because this is what's coming. This is what's coming for you, because the people aren't going to take it anymore. The people are going to demand justice. They're going to demand that your is in jail. You've taken our money. We want the money back. You've taken our jobs overseas. We want those jobs back.
Hey, Michael, why didn't you use union workers on your last movie, you hypocrite?
Yeah, totally.
No kidding.
Wow. Come on.
I think with Michael Moore, when he gives out all his money, then he can come and talk about this. I mean, I don't see him giving away all his money to the homeless shelter, do you?
No, it's not. No. He says it's not his money. It's a natural resource, and we've got to go and take everybody else's money. He said that recently.
My favorite part is he's talking about the people as if it's the majority of people belong to unions. It's less than 10%. I mean, it's a small percentage of public employee unions who are now going to go to war with the majority of America. I mean, this guy, you want to talk about a publicity hound.
Hey, that's right. Can I say something to Michael Moore? What camera is mine? Look, Michael Moore, you're a big crybaby. You're living in the 60s, man. It's over. It's old-fashioned. This class warfare.
I don't like he said high school kids should not go to school today.
Pulling children out of school into the streets to meet him on the public square. I saw that movie. It was Wild in the Streets.
Governor Palin put this. Why didn't he use union workers on his own movie? And why did the union not call him out? Just like Barack Obama is the head of the federal government workforce, and guess what? They don't have the collective bargaining that they still have in Wisconsin after this bill passes.
Why do we vote Barack Obama? You already know my view about Barack Obama. He is the commander. I'm saying
protest in front of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
He is the commander in cowardice.
Oh, what? My. Ouch.
Ouch.
I like that.
That's a good note.
I don't like that.
Yeah, no, I think he's extraordinarily timid.
He's the commander in cowardice.
Why?
He used to be the commander in compromise. Now he's the commander in cowardice because it goes back to your point, Sean, and that is these liberals, and I'm a liberal, but these phony liberals, they're always talking about civility, that when other people are protesting and being nasty and putting up the Hitler sign, oh, you can't do that, oh, you can't do that. You see all that nasty stuff going out there in Wisconsin, and you don't hear Obama. You don't hear from him.
Not a word. I mean, that's a great point. After the Tucson, the tragedy with Congresswoman Giffords, I mean, look at what was happening. We'll roll some tape here of what was going on in Wisconsin. Anger. Scott Walker was called Mussolini, Mubarak, Hitler,
and disruption.
Well, I do think the president made a big mistake wading into this state issue and their state budget. They have to balance their state budget. And, look, the public employees in Wisconsin should be responsible to the taxpayers, not to the union. And that's really what this boils down to.
Hey, this is a huge win. And I think the unions understood. The unions understood how. This is now, the ripple effect is going to be massive because it's going to happen in every other state because people see that Walker stood firm and Walker won.
But this is also a win for liberals, and I'm impressed by this Governor Walker. Because this is a win for the liberals. Let me tell you why. These union contracts, these sacred cow provisions.
They don't have to be members anymore.
Wait a minute. These sacred cow provisions, we try to get teachers in the public schools who can teach. And we have a last hired, first fired rule under these union rules. We don't have it anymore in Wisconsin. I say that's good for the liberalism, liberal community. We have to have change. And I don't buy this open public meetings law that says you can come into the state capitol, trash it, and disrupt the legislative process.
Tell me how you really
feel. Keep the kids in school. That's what I say. Michael Moore, don't take kids out of school.
All right, we're out of time. Let not your heart be troubled. Greta's next. We'll see you tomorrow night.